Okay, yeah, so take whatever position feels intuitively comfortable and supportive for this practice, this beautiful monsters practice. Knowing again that we are inviting ourselves to assume a position where we can still be alert and present and engaged in the contemplation, but also really held and feel really safe and supported, where we truly don't have to do any work. So you can take that position now. And maybe even if you have chosen to lie down, just like some extra attention to making sure like the heart is still a bit open, the chest is still open. I feel like that might be important posturally and structurally. And as a part of the settling in today, I invite you all to have a little bit of intuition at this point in our practice together, right? To take whatever movements, whatever practice you'd like to do to really settle, right? To settle your energy. So it could be some physiological size, could be a body scan. So I'll let you all kind of feel into that on your own for a few moments here. Yeah, and just really making sure whatever you've chosen, that like any of that residual tension that we just kind of hold is really melting away. Like big exhale energy tonight. Now that we're settled, we'll establish our motivation together. May this practice be devoted to befriending, right, to inviting in our beautiful monsters, and thus practicing our worthiness, right? They say like our worthiness to be loved exactly as we are right now, without having to change, but also change. Right? We still want to change to practice living with more virtue. So both of those are true, that we can love and accept ourselves, know that we have good hearts, and know that there's always something we can do to gently invite ourselves into a better heart, more virtue. And may we start to cultivate a mind and a heart that can be purified thereby of any non-virtue that we know to be within us. Right, and we do this, of course, to better ourselves, but more importantly, even to bring a happier and more loving heart to those around us. Right, we all want that. So just add anything if you'd like to make it a little more specific for how you're feeling in the moment and what you want to get out of this beautiful monsters experience. Okay, so the past is the past. Yet many of us, either consciously or not, hold anger and resentment toward others for the way they've hurt us, and also toward ourselves for the way we've inflicted harm on others. Again, we're not always aware of this, right? But it manifests in different ways in our bodies, certainly in our thoughts, right? In our speech, right? Even if our unconscious thought, our unconscious mind is driving our speech and in our actions and our reactivity. Right? And we punish others and ourselves as a form of retaliation, right? Which we've discussed, right? Retaliation is this kind of like anger-driven action or thought or speech, right? That is really continuing a negative karmic imprint for us. Right? So this meditation is an opportunity to purify, to express regret, to take refuge, to offer remedy, and to resolve anything that we can find today that might be lingering within us, that we haven't yet brought in to love and then to let be, to see and then to let pass on. Right? And so Buddha said, no matter how hard the past, sometimes interpreted, no matter how bad the past, you can always begin again. And so anything we've been through where we've either been hurt or we've caused hurt, we can always begin again. Right? Because we also have free will. Sure, there's karma, but we can work also to shape our lives in a positive direction. But we have to start from where we are, exactly where we are. Okay, so again, with the spirit of curiosity rather than judgment, this like intention of developing, right, what they call unconditional positive self-regard, the ability to accept ourselves no matter what, without condition. Right, so we can weaken our negative karmic imprint, and we can abide, we can spontaneously be a more loving being. Right? Why? Ultimately, so we can maybe end our suffering in this lifetime, maybe the next. Right? And then help be a stand for that for others. Okay, so certainly memories will arise. Emotions might arise. Right? So we would like to have the ability to objectively watch these things, right? These are, remember, like mental appearances, just mental appearances. And we remember that we are the watcher of these things. We're just observing what the mind is doing. We don't have to become the mind or become, right? We don't have to get in the river and attach to the leaf floating down the river. So we try to practice not reacting. But if you have to release an emotion, please do that as well. We're not suppressing either. So let whatever comes arise, exist, and then pass on. And for now, I also invite you to resist the urge to apply an antidote to anything. Right? We discussed in class that true kindness, real self-friendship, as they'll call it, means we can see the beautiful monster without changing it ... right? And then it's a ... and change it, and we'll get there. But for now, as we begin our beautiful monsters practice, right, see yourself or feel yourself in these non-virtuous ways and try to just do nothing about that to change it or fix it. So as I call these 10 non-virtuous ways of being, I just invite you to recall times that you've partaken in these actions, this way of speaking or this way of thinking. starting with killing, meaning taking the life of any other sentient being, meaning causing the death of anything that didn't want to die, meaning a bug, eating meat, right? Doing kind of these convenient and pleasure-filled self-cherishing activities for our own comfort. And just recognizing in this moment that, yeah, mosquitoes don't want to die, cows don't want to die. And stealing, taking anything that was not given to you expressly. So even any harmless taking, like when you've taken a pen from an office, been a little clever on your taxes, things like this that we justify and make rightful, that weren't given to us. And sexual misconduct, right? Any sexual acts committed outside of a committed relationship, any sexual acts with someone who is not consenting. Moving into speech. So, lying. It's important we watch the motivation behind lying, but unless it's lying to benefit someone else, right? If we're lying to protect ourselves, aggrandize ourselves, right? A self-cherishing, motivated lying. Any divisive speech. We can observe just even in the world we live in how common this is, but it doesn't make it okay. Right, so anything that is said that is not meant to directly benefit the person that it's being said about, any words that are expressed with anger or a retaliatory motive, any harsh speech, even if it's true. Again, anything where the motivation is not to help or end someone else's suffering. Sometimes we might call this calling someone out, and we might justify that we are trying to help. But if it hurts them, that's not really helping. And finally, the all too common idle chatter or gossip. Again, being very, very honest with ourselves about our intentions when we do these things, especially in speech. Mostly we realize when we look at speech that, right, we either have a balanced mind where we're focused more inward in our speech, or we have a complaining mind that's very externally based about others. So just noting that. Moving into the mind. Any coveting, which is simply wanting what others have, which energetically, right, is not necessarily celebrating others for being happy. It's quite the contrary, right? It's almost trying to equalize yourself with someone, but by pulling them down and you trying to have what they have. Right? An ignorant sense of lack in that. Any malice? So wishing harm for someone in your mind. Right? Noticing that in a tendency toward malice, especially toward those we feel have hurt us, is the opposite of wishing them happiness. And finally, any wrong view, which can be thought of most simply as a closed-mindedness. Right? Anytime we hold the view of others as categorically wrong, again committing this third poison of ignorance, which is like thinking we know the ultimate truth in everything. Right? Judging someone else's opinion, political view, etc. So just sitting with this, right? Just allowing any feelings that came up to be there. Trying not to fix, trying not to guilt or blame, justify. And so now I'll recite the means for purification under the 4 powers. And then I'll give you time after to practice whatever purification method in any way that you feel intuitively called as a response to what you found. The first power being to express regret, which is genuine remorse, not guilt. Not I'm a bad person, but I've committed some bad acts, some hurtful acts, some non-virtuous acts. The second being to take refuge. A phrase like, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha until I'm enlightened, is the classic way to express and then embody this. The third being to offer a remedy, typically in the form of chanting, but sometimes in the form of offerings to the Buddha, monetary offerings, water bowls, water meaning to symbolize nectar. Right, so just reminding you all of the chant that we've been practicing, which is Om Mani Padme Hum, which is the chant of wisdom and compassion. And the final power is resolve, which is making amends. Right? Promising to revise your actions, your speech, or your thinking, and doing the best you can. So with the energy, either with the energy of a big warm hug, right? Because this is the time now we can offer a remedy, right? So now we are going to change something. So we're going to apply an antidote here through purification. So you can either truly hug yourself if you wish to wrap your arms around yourself, or you can just offer yourself an energetic hug, like whatever a hug feels like to you, warm, fuzzy, honey, tea, blankets, a bath, right? Your grandma, whatever the warmest feeling is. And I'll give you time, right, to express regret, to take refuge, to offer a remedy and say some chants, or to resolve and make amends. You can release the practice now. And just let your mind rest. And simply listen. Right? Knowing the more that we open up to our beautiful monsters, eventually we will land in a space of unconditional love, unconditional positive self-regard. And it's worth repeating that we practice knowing that we're worthy to be loved now, exactly as we are, without changing, and also change. And so we'll end with our dedication. Palms together in front of your heart, a slight bow to the head. May the wisdom and insights discovered in receiving the Dharma and in this contemplative meditation contribute to a more understanding, right, a more understanding view of myself, more compassion for myself, and thus my ability to give that to all sentient beings. And may this result in my ability to help lead myself and all sentient beings across the ocean of suffering to the shores of peace. And so take a few moments to be with that intention. Add anything that you wish to add to make it personal and true for you. And when you're ready, very slowly, very gently this evening, release your practice. You can let go of your stance, your mudra, and slowly open your eyes.